three more. In the gap, and there it is. 100 for Casey Carty. 890 days ago, he became the first man from St. Martin to play for this nation. Today, he's the first to score 100.
Yeah, well, he did show his quality back in 2016. A major part of the West Indies under-19 ICC World Cup triumph back then. And Casey Carty at the top level now gets 100 for the first time. We get off the mark with cricket on this edition of the SportsMax Zone as West Indies earned an emphatic 8-wicket win over England in their ODI decider at Kensington Oval in Barbados on Wednesday to clinch a 2-1 series victory. The Caribbean side had England on the back foot early on, claiming 4 wickets in the first power play to set the visitors back at 24 for 4 in 9.5 overs. A calculated knock of 74 from opener Phil Salt and contributions from the lower order, however, ensured that England got up to a potentially challenging total of 263 for 8 from their 50 overs. Seaman Matthew Forde claimed 3 for 35 for the hosts as Romario Shepherd and Alzari Joseph copped 2 wickets apiece. Now chasing 264 for victory, the Caribbean side kept pace with the run chase under the lights thanks to Casey Carty's attacking unbeaten century 128, which was complemented by a cautious ton 102 from player of the match Brandon King to take the West Indies home with ease at 267 for 2 in 43 overs. West Indies captain Shea Hope is confident his team's most recent batting display is a sign of things to come.
And it's great to see that KC got a century and also finished the game for the team as well. So a great positive and great sign for us as batters that we're getting big scores. And it's not only coming from myself, no disrespect to the boys, but it's great to see a lot of other guys putting their hands up. And I think that's going to be a very strong batting lineup going forward.
Yes, so a 2-1 series victory for the Caribbean men. Nikhil Uttam Chandani, who covered the series from the box, now joins us via Zoom to recap what happened on this midweek fixture that the West Indies were emphatic in. Consistency has been a problem for the West Indies over the years, Nikhil, and it's been displayed in this series. They were good in the first ODI, not good in the second ODI, and then brilliant in the third ODI. How good were they?
Yeah, very good, Lance. I think the problem has shown with the consistency, except against England. When you look at the record against full member nations, it's 12 ODI series now. They've only won 2, and both of them have been against England. So, look, I think it was a great way of maximizing conditions. Obviously, they won the toss, opted to bowl first, which is the trend at Kensington, but still had to be good enough with the new ball to extract that bit of moisture that was in the surface to swing the ball. And I thought their control of length was really good. And it almost forced England to try to do something probably out of the ordinary, which led to their wicket. So to have them 24 for 4, even though they got to 263, I thought that was a big positive in itself. And then, yes, the dew factor did help the ball come on nicely onto the bat when they batted, but still, you have to make use of conditions. And it was great to see the tempo in which they batted, especially in that 200-plus run partnership.
And just to expand on the point that you just made then, Nikhil, how impactful do you think the toss was, given how things turned out?
Very impactful, Lance. I think in all 3 games, and these are 2 venues, probably I would say the most skewed in terms of the toss result in the Caribbean. And the numbers tell you that both Sir Viv and Kensington Oval. And I mean, the winner of the toss in all 3 games ended up, winning the game. So, I mean, we'll never know. I thought the 328 that the West Indies put on in the second ODI was defendable. I think they probably weren't at their best, and they were fast to admit that they weren't at their best with ball in hand. And England batted well, but you saw the game go down sort of to the end, 48.5 overs. So they could have defended then. But definitely, I think the toss plays a part. And it's this time of the year in the Caribbean, for some reason, when the dew factor comes in, it's a lot cooler outside. It just seems like as you get into the evening period under the lights, the ball comes on much better, because you saw the way, Brandon King covered Jofra Archer twice in the very first over. And it seemed like the West Indies were batting on a completely different planet, in contrast to maybe the first power play when England batted.
Yeah, and a quick comment on Matthew Forde, the 22-year-old, the best bowler on the night with his 3 wickets and player of the series.
Yeah, 8 wickets in the series for Forde, Lance. I think what has really stood out to everyone has been the variations which he's added to his game. 6 of his wickets have come outside that power play where he would not be bowling the new ball. And, you know, he's been for so long labelled as this new ball bowler who gets the ball to in-swing into the right-hander. But I think he's grown and matured past that now. And you see the variations, the back of the hand store balls, the execution. He bowls 6 overs of the last 10 in the series. And he went for just 30 runs, picking up 3 wickets, whereas the rest of the team as a collective went at 11 runs and over. So it tells you how well he's done. His execution was stunning, but also his variation and decision-making in the use of variation, I thought, was very smart.
All of this, and I'm talking about Alzarri Joseph, it's public knowledge what happened. I mean, the viewers would have been tuned into the broadcast. I'll start by asking you, one, you were on commentary. What happened?
Right, Maria. First of all, I want to say I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. Obviously, it was not ideal from a West Indian perspective. It was probably embarrassing, is the right word to use, but and again, this is just from my vantage point, what I understood about proceedings. Obviously, Alzarri Joseph began his spell bowling from the Malcolm Marshall end, and he had a deep point for the first over. First over was good. Second over came, and I think Shai Hope opted to have a deep third in place and bring up the deep point into the circle. It looked like Joseph wanted that deep point fielder. At the start of the over, he was trying to tell Shai Hope he wanted that fielder. I don't know if there was a miscommunication. Nonetheless, he did bowl after a while, bowled the first ball, went to Shai Hope. And it seemed like Shai Hope didn't want to change the field. So from that instance, Alzarri Joseph made a signal to the dressing room saying he would go off. I wasn't sure if he would actually go off. The very next delivery, which is 148 kilometers per hour, he gets Jordan Cox with, I think, the delivery of the series. And it tells you how dangerous he can be when he's fired up. But the situation escalated massively from there, where obviously Joseph lost his temper, went off the field, and the West Indies fielded for 1 over with 10 men, which obviously wasn't ideal. And the reason that happened, for the clarification, is he did not inform the umpires that he was going off. So because of that, they weren't allowed to put a sub onto the field. But look, what I'll say is, whilst that situation was not ideal and it was not a good look, it was really refreshing to see the way, one, he came back onto the field and still played a leadership role. They have called him the leader of the attack, Matthew Forde, Jaden Seals, and the fast bowlers. He still was in their ears. He still had discussions with Shai Hope late in the innings, and I thought he bowled a fantastic spell. So they'll have to move past this, but it was not the brightest moment in West Indies cricket, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, speaking about moving past this, you always want to hear what the head coach has to say about a situation like this, because when things like this happen, we love to say it's a reflection of the dressing room, of those at the helm, of the leadership. So let's take a listen now, Nikhil, to what head coach Darren Sami had to say.
We will be friends, but the behaviours like that is unacceptable on my cricket field. And the culture I'm trying to build, that's unacceptable. So, yeah, we definitely will have a chat about that.
Yes, so head coach there, Darren Sami, saying that this type of behaviour, Nikhil, is unacceptable on his cricket field, and it just generates the idea that there are going to be some serious repercussions to this. And I'm thinking about, you know, some sort of punishment or, you know, and being made an example, because as a coach, you want to, one, look like you're in control of everything that's happening, and you don't want the younger ones looking on, Nikhil, to feel like such behaviour is okay.
Look, right, it's definitely possible that Alzarri could face, you know, a suspension, or he could face some reprimand, and he would probably tell you it's deserved. What I want to say, though, and I've been privileged enough to be around this West Indies team for the last couple of months in Sri Lanka, here in the Caribbean, and I've been going to every practice session covering it. What Sami has done is create real synergy within this group. And we spoke to Matthew Forde. If you guys watched the game, during the interval, Matthew Forde did a feature and he said Alzarri Joseph is now the leader of the attack. I'm watching him at every practice, have a chat with his bowlers. You know, I can see that he's really taken on a leadership position, whereas in the past, he's left it to other guys, the Bravos, etc. But I can definitely attest, my personal attest is that he is now a leader in that West Indies team. And I think that comes out of pure passion. Now, I'm not saying that it's acceptable, or I'm not trying to make an excuse for Alzarri Joseph. I'm sure he will regret what he's done for a long time. However, I do think it's not fair to say that that is a reflection of Darren Sami's dressing room, because I do think he has built a special synergy, and it's why they've gotten the results on the field.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you said that, Nikhil, because, you know, from time to time, we've spoken about the good work that head coach Darren Sami has done. We've spoken about the progress that we've seen in such a short time under head coach Darren Sami. But, you know, Alzarri Joseph, with that title of vice captain as well, you know, he has a leadership role in himself, you know, and it's something that even I found a bit shocking, because you are given titles and you're seen in a different light instantly, Nikhil. You're seen as somebody that, you know, we should look up to, somebody we should follow. So I'm still in shock. I'm still in shock as to what happened. But I'm so happy that we're talking about a West Indies victory today, because, Nikhil, you know how the narrative could have been very different if West Indies had lost that match yesterday.
The funny thing about it is that the West Indies at that stage of the innings were completely dominating England. 24 for 4 they were. And, you know, you would think that the tempers flare and these things happen when they were sort of under the pump, or maybe England have gotten off to a really good start.
But you're winning.
I wonder if this almost distracted England, because they probably couldn't believe what was going on. It was chaos. To be honest, I've never seen a cricket game like that. So much happened. Guys losing their bat and flinging it, like, obviously not intentionally, but it was a crazy game of cricket. You know, but look, the West Indies should feel quite happy and pleased with the performance they've put in. I know it's not England's strongest team, but there's some talent in that side, and they play a fearless brand of cricket, as we saw in the second ODI. So I think they have to recognize this achievement and try to use this now to move forward. They're still in 10th in the ODI rankings. They need to win more series. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, and Nikhil, can you confirm that Alzarri was the vice captain for this series? Because in the team announcement, it wasn't said.
I can't confirm that, Lance. I don't think they've named the vice captain, because I think there are a few guys in there that Shai Hope relies on, has a chat with. Alzarri is one. You saw it yesterday. He wasn't bowling. It was Moti and Chase from both ends, and Shai Hope ran to Alzarri to ask him a question. So I think they have a few guys. Brandon King is another leader in that team. Hetmeyer to some extent, and I think Hetmeyer, as Ian Bishop said on commentary, ran over to Alzarri to try to calm the situation. I don't think they've named Alzarri as the definitive vice captain, even though it's a position he's held in the past, as you would know.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking, because he's only human, and we know how things are when you're managing people. Do you think that Alzarri could feel a little slighted by the fact that he had been named vice captain before, and in subsequent series he was not officially given that position? Is that something, knowing the person, that you think could have affected him in any way?
To be honest, I think the vice captaincy role in cricket now is going away. I even read in England's squad release, they didn't name a vice captain either, because it was the same reason. They said they had a few senior individuals, Phil Salt, who's captain the side, obviously Sam Curran, that they felt could work collectively. So I don't know, Lance, that if I know Alzarri Joseph, and I do have the privilege of knowing him, I don't think something like that would really bother him and cause that outburst. I think on that day, it was just passion. Obviously, he, as the bowler, has a right to want a certain field, and this is just all suspect. We suspect this was the reason for the argument. He wants a certain field. Shai Hope, as captain, also thinks he has the requisite knowledge and knows the batter and will want a certain field as well. And I think it was a miscommunication that then was blown way out of proportion. And the worst part about it was that obviously he exited the field and the West Indies fielded with 10. I mean, it was so blatant that you really couldn't pull the rug over it, because it was visible to see, you know, how fired up he was and sort of how much he was resenting things out in the middle in that small period. But look, they got over it after that initial power play and somehow still managed to win the game.
Yeah, well, the T20 series starts this weekend, and this is going to be another important series, of course. And the West Indies would be looking to try to keep that winning momentum. What's your look ahead to the T20 series?
Yeah, it's going to be a stiffer challenge, I think, because this England side, there are a lot of players in there who have played regular T20 cricket and are probably more suited to the T20 format as of now. So it's not going to be easy, but I'm more looking forward to seeing more development. I mean, we know what guys will get. The World Cup is about 18 months away. We know the Russells, the Purans, etc. But who else can really put their hand up? Can someone at the back end of the innings be outstanding like Matthew Forde was in the ODI series? Can someone get consistent runs across the 5 games? So, yeah, a few things I'm looking for, but mainly development.
Yeah, and of course, there had been a target from coach Darren Sami to get West Indies back to the #1 spot in the ICC T20 team rankings, and they're not that far off it at the moment. I think they're still 3 in the world. How much do you think that they can make some inroads in those ICC team rankings?
Yeah, there's a few series coming up. This England series, Bangladesh, next year Pakistan. But listen, Lance, the one target that Darren Sami will want the most is to win the 2026 T20 World Cup. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they handle the likes of Terence Hines, Shamar Springer, who we saw in Sri Lanka. Do they back them now for the next 18 months and try to develop a death bowling option? Because we know sort of how strong the team is, the batting is, the six-hitting ability, but the areas of weakness that costed them at the World Cup, can they now begin to rectify and build on an impressive start in Sri Lanka? But we saw the margin of error and sort of the weaknesses even in that series.
Yeah, and you know, as you say that, Nikhil, I just want to ask you one more coming out of this ODI series. I know we won, but I still have to ask, you know, any glaring areas that you would have noticed while there that, you know, the Windies need to rectify if they are to continue, you know, dominating when it comes to ODI, or even be in that topic of dominating where ODI cricket is concerned?
Right. The batting, I think, has improved. However, these are very good batting conditions in the Caribbean. So they need to develop the habit of rotating strike like they've done in these games that they've won. Finishing, which they, I think, have found with Hetmeyer and Romario Shepherd and Rutherford, who's been consistent. The biggest area, and I just mentioned it in the T20 squad, is the death bowling. 11 runs and over. Even yesterday, bowling to Jofra Archer and Overton, they conceded 100 in the last 10. It's still a concern. They only picked up one wicket in the middle overs. That is a concern as well. But I will say that fast bowling group with 3 guys 25 or younger is a work in progress. And I think Matthew Forde, for example, has shown you that they're making good strides. So I think they must be backed now for the next maybe 3 to 6 series. And let's see if we can develop back-end execution and better death bowling. And I'll extend that to the middle overs as well.
Yeah, well, Nikhil, we know that you're straddling all things cricket, so you're not going to move from where you are, because we've got some Super 50 CG United updates coming up after the break, and you will be with us for that as well. We'll be back with more on the SportsMax Zone after this.